He won't be in today. He's doing the fashion show. You know, he does have his own clothing line.
I ran into someone today that was telling me, I'm going to the fashion show, I'm going to the fashion show. I said, do you know Jet Miller? They said, yeah, Lord, live out a dream.
That's right.
I said, okay.
Yes, awesome. Young brother doing his own thing.
22 years old, motivational speaking, encouraging young men to live out their dreams.
That's right. And I also want to shout out to C4, Lavelle Binion. I know you listening. We'll see you next week.
Cultivate 4, we're glad to have you as a part of our panel. We'd like to give you a special shout out. He's out on the base this weekend, tending to the troops that defend our borders, that defend our countries.
Yes, so special shout out to him, C4, and always in the building.
Always. Young male mentoring group here in the city, birthed at Smith Middle School. They've grown to have their own building, and now they're mentoring boys on the east side of town. Big ups to Lavelle and C4 mentoring.
Yes, and our co-host Danny out in Southern California, she has run into really bad weather, 80 miles per hour winds, and she's trying to get home from work, so she'll be joining us a little later today.
Drive safely, Danny. We will be looking forward to seeing you.
Hearing you.
Hearing you.
That's right.
Okay.
So that brings us to our question from last week, which is the same question of this week. We're going to do this whole month because we really want to know where do we all fit in with each other.
And if you notice, the panel and the guests that we brought in each week of this month have tried to represent both sides of the question.
That's right.
We try to get feedback from both sides and see if not only can we not just voice opinions, but if there's some type of solutions that can be formed, steps that can be taken. We know how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
But we want to know everybody's endpoint. You know, everybody have a voice.
D&D Live.
The voice of the people. So go ahead and introduce our guest.
Well, I introduced one before the break.
Okay.
And then we'll introduce the question of the week.
Okay.
And if that's all right with you.
That's great. Sounds wonderful.
Then after the break, we'll come back in and introduce our other host. Because I know one of them a little bit more intimately than I know the other. So it'll be a little bit easier.
Yes, and he has something else going on, so we do need to do what we're going to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, first, in studio, we have a brother of mine, a co-laborer in Christ, a foot soldier in the ministry, a beacon of light in his community. He is the pastor of South Roebuck Community Church, but I didn't meet him as the pastor of a church. I met him in the battlefields and in the trenches trying to save souls as an under-shepherd at Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where he was serving as assistant minister and helping the pastor with his duties while at the same time trying to be an example and a mentor to other areas and facets of the church. He is a married man. He is a hard-working man. He is a pastor. He is a leader. He is a beacon of light. I present to some and introduce to others, Reverend Leon Miller.
Woo!
Woo!
Welcome to D&D Live, Reverend Miller. We are so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and greetings to each of you and all who are listening on the other end. It's a great thing to be here.
Thank you.
Now, don't everybody call in at once. We know you have a lot of questions for this man. We're broadcasting in 97 countries currently. 1-800-979-0802. Get your phones ready. We have people here with answers and solutions tonight. We hope.
Right.
Are you ready for the?
Yes. Question of the week.
This is my favorite part of the show.
We all know that.
Where does the church fit in during these times? Part 3. Where does the church fit in during these times? We say we brought 2 representatives, someone who represents the church and someone who represents the end, or someone who wants to represent the end, the community.
Yes.
We have a brother in studio who is running for the mayor of Birmingham. just gonna drop that tidbit in y'all spirit, and I'm gonna come back out.
Now we had Randall last week, but it's not him.
It's not Randall Woodfin. I know y'all say we heard Randall. No, it's a lot of people putting their hat in, and we want to give them a chance on a platform to kind of address the people and kind of cover some of the things that they want to do in the initiative they want to put forth inside of the platform my wife provides.
Thank you, God. D&D Live.
D&D Live.
All right, you're clear.
Now I want.
I know you're clear.
Oh, okay.
You're
I want to warn everybody, we're not on air, but the camera is recording. Rhonda, you running for mayor. I mean, Irvin, Mr. Hill, you running for mayor. I don't want you to say nothing on camera that, 97 countries going to catch you on that. Say I set you up and had you
For Lehman is fine. So
For Lehman?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Fine. For Lehman Hill is good.
Because I know Aaron and Prentice. We went to school together.
Okay.
I know Bessie. She taught me.
I got you. I got you. All right, then.
And me and Lawrence, that's why I showed up there.
So when we how is she? She 12. She look good.
So you want me to basically, I guess,
Just like, what are your thoughts as far as you can even base it on your church being in Roebuck? Like, how did you feel about this? Is your church, what did you guys do as far as like outreach? I know you guys have an excellent PBS that goes on, and like, what are the options that this how comfortable do you think you be?
right now, the big disconnect in the church with a transition of faith right now where the church is not necessarily identifying with where young people are, especially those millennials. Let's look at some new things that we need to do with kids where they are today. So, and I was looking at, had an article that 59% of millennials raised in the church have dropped out. That's key. 59%. So
They don't feel.
And they truly feel like that. So, like, how can we get them comfortable?
you got to include them. I mean, you got to give them a voice now. Now, the biggest part that the disconnect is that kids aren't. One, adults are looking for them to get engaged, and then they listen to them, of course, considering giving them a voice. So that's where your disconnect comes in. You got your old school mindset, pastors, spiritual leaders in the church, versus the new millennial mindset. And the new millennial mindset that says, you give me an opportunity to come to the table, then I'll participate. And the old mindset says, you got to earn the right to come to the table. You got to earn the right to come to the table.
So how do we bridge together?
You got to have leadership that's open-minded to really, first of all, don't ignore what the numbers are saying. And the numbers are saying that our young people are walking away.
So, we need to say this on air.
But that's the part that we want, because that how can we bridge together? That's the answer.
So we'll ask you questions. We're not going to just leave you out there.
Well, I mean, had I known I was going to kind of take the lead in the platform, I'd have prepared for that. I was more or less, I guess, mentally prepared to kind of respond to whatever questions you presented. So, like the dialogue we're having now.
Well, honestly, when she said she'll go first, she didn't mean you were taking it.
Okay.
Well, she was
Okay.
just saying you'll be the first to answer
Oh,
the
that's
question
fine.
because
That's
it's
fine.
right on the count. But if it makes you more comfortable, I answer first.
No, I'm not.
Because,
Answering is not the issue. It's just I misunderstood. Oh, okay. Okay. It was-
Even though she may offer one of us the time to talk, she's the host. So
I
she'll
can-
kind of
okay.
direct it. She won't just leave you out there. She's good at kind of. true.
Let's see, got about a minute 20.
Okay.
Just give me something so I can introduce you,
Thank
man.
you.
Allow me to introduce you. Lehman.
Like the book in the Bible.
There you go.
You named after your dad, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. That's my girl there.
That's rare talent right there.
Yes.
See, like one
All
year.
right.
15 seconds.
See, like if you choose one commercial space, we can be sure that we want commercial space doing D&D live, because you know it's your platform, your audience,
Your voice.
Huh?
It's
your voice.
My voice.
Miss Ruby Baby from the Not So Early Morning Show, and you are listening to 99.9 The Plug.
All right, we are back. Welcome back to D&D Live. This is your girl Dashita, always representing 99.9 The Plug FM. Mamas, mothers on a mission, moving in activism. Of course, Mr. Victor is here to the right, always.
Always supporting the first lady. That's
All
what I
right.
do.
And we have Reverend Leon Miller. Thank you so much once again for coming in. And are you going to go ahead and introduce our next guest so we can get on to the question?
Yes. Our next guest is the son of my favorite English teacher in the whole wide world. Just let me get through that first. His mother taught me honest English at Arthur Harold Parker High School. And she is the reason that I tell my kids, enunciate. She rose up and kind of gripped her finger. Enunciate, Mr. Jordan. She was the best for me.
Okay.
She, lots of values, lots of morals. She believed in us. She inspired us as young men.
And it's always a big deal when you can remember a teacher like that. You've been out of high school. So you remember all the way to those type of details. That's she did her job.
Man,
She was awesome.
we don't have enough time on the airways to speak about Miss Hill.
Well, shout out to you, Miss Hill.
Yes, Miss Betsy Hill. I love you. You were terrific.
All right.
All right, but we have her son in the building. His name I will hold to the end. But he is currently running for mayor right here in the city of Birmingham. One of his major campaign platforms is the quality of public education, which makes sense knowing who his mother is. He wants to make sure all our citizens are engaged, community revitalization,
Right.
and the reduction of crime,
Yes.
economic development, and fiscal transparency and ethics reform. Let me read that back. Fiscal transparency. Thank you, Ms. Hill. That means to be able to see through the numbers. Don't hide the numbers from the people. Tell us where the money go. We know that the Birmingham Municipal Court records $21 million in income every year. Why is the road outside of that court building still under construction?
Exactly.
Where did the money go? They just made it right here.
In their pocket.
I like you already. His professional experience, EPA Sports Warehouse, LLC owner and president. Legacy Sports Management International owner and president. Legacy Sports Junior Golf Association founder. Legacy Sports Junior Tennis Association founder.
You better go ahead.
Southern Nuclear Company mechanical engineer. That means he's smart. That means he paid attention somewhere along the way.
His mama, Miss Hill.
Yes, it is. Raytheon Systems Company mechanical engineer. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity got his frat brother in the vehicle. Incorporated on the low. Ephesus 7-Day Adventist Church. And if nothing else, I know he attended regularly every Saturday because I used to ride by and speak to Miss Hill and him and family after church on my bike. And his educational background, he is a graduate of Clark Atlanta University with an MBA, Marketing and Finance. He graduated from Tuskegee University with a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering. He is a proud graduate of Arthur Harold Parker High School and also of Ephesus Academy here in Birmingham. I introduce to some and present to others, Philemon Hill.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Glad to be here.
Woo. And welcome to D&D
I
Live.
might need to bring you with me as my hype man.
Listen,
I got a wife and 3 kids. As long as you're going to contribute, I'll go.
That's right.
I will go.
I
well,
remember
that is awesome. Welcome to D&D Live.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Now, Mr. Philemon, we're going to get to you on this question of the week.
Okay.
But before we do, my wife promised a certain someone the first crack at it. We know that they're on a time schedule. We don't want to mince words and mix them out. Want to make sure they have the full time to voice their opinion. And he's a minister.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay, so Reverend Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
where does the church fit in during these times?
In your opinion.
In your opinion.
In my opinion.
Yes, in your opinion. And there's not a right or wrong answer.
Well, actually, in this case, there is a right answer because
Or can we tailor? How does South Roebuck Community Church fit in
Your community during these times.
all right, you done made it very specific. Well, our purpose at South Roebuck Community Church is to help people to know God. We try to keep it real simple, to establish a deeper relationship with God and to teach others to do the same. You know, I think sometimes we complicate the mission and the vision of the church to make it sound unique. But in actuality, the Bible, in particular, Jesus established the groundwork for all of that. We still go back to the Great Commission. We have a responsibility to go out and to teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And when we get away from those basic things, I think we lose focus on really what it's all about. And unfortunately, the church has, there's a disconnect that has been established between the various generations. There's old school and there's new school when it comes to how we do things today. And unfortunately, in many instances, old school church has kind of lost touch with where our millennials in particular are in this day and time.
Okay. Okay, interesting.
So what can we do? When I was looking at thinking about in preparation for this, it says that 59% of the millennials were raised in the church have dropped out. That's critical. 59% have dropped out. So when we go back and consider the numbers in particular, you're talking about 2 out of 10 Americans under the age of 30 believing attending church is important, but at the same time, that's something that they're no longer doing. And one of the reasons we see that's happening is because we want to do church as usual. The Word of God never changes, but the way that we reach young people these days has to change.
It has to change.
And until we get to the point of doing that, we're going to continue to experience that disconnect. We're going to continue to see our kids doing their own thing opposed to actually getting in the mainstream of church. Unfortunately, we find that this is more prone in the black community more so than the white community, because white churches are now gearing their ministries to try to make them more inclusive when it comes to dealing with young people. You look at Church of the Highlands, you look at some other ministries that actually are growing by leaps and bounds.
Yes.
You go to those worship experiences and you see those kids really heavily engaged in what's going on. And you even go back and see the worship center. They're doing some things to try to make sure that young people stay engaged. So at South Roebuck Community Church, we try to make sure that our young people have a platform. We try to make sure that we keep them engaged. Even give you an idea of what we do. On Sunday mornings, they participate in our praise and worship experience, but when it comes down to the preaching of the word, we have a youth minister who actually takes them aside into a separate area of the building and ministers to them on their level. Because I remember how it was when I was growing up, sitting in amongst the adults. Sometimes you might listen to what the preacher was saying, sometimes you didn't. But now we give them a platform where they can actually go and be ministered to on their level.
On their
and so
level.
therefore they have to be engaged in that situation.
That's awesome. I think that's excellent because you definitely want to reach their level.
Absolutely.
And that's very important right now. They're the ones that's lost, and we have to do what we have to do to get them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not doing a great job. When we look at the statistics dealing with crime, we look at the conditions in the homes. We've been doing a series of messages this month dealing with the family. And when we start looking at the percentages, sometimes we spend so much time focusing on the symptoms that we really don't go back to the heart of the problem. And when we look at, even when my brother is running for mayor, we need to put more emphasis on the family, because it's one thing to deal with infrastructure of the city, but when our families are falling apart, the infrastructure really means nothing. So we've got to go back and make sure we look at what are we offering that bring families back together again. I clearly remember growing up, fathers used to be coaches of football teams, of basketball teams, and baseball teams in your recreational centers, and now fathers are so busy doing what they do that they don't take time to go back in the community and spend time with those kids to help raise them or teach them something that will help them years to come.
It definitely took a village when we were coming up.
Absolutely.
And we need to have that village back. Everybody has an important part to play.
I totally agree with you, Ms. Nasheed. Are you ready to ask the question, or would you like for me to answer the question?
You can answer the question. I asked you, where does the church fit in during these times? Your opinion, how do you feel? Your opinion, how do you feel about it?
I agree with everything that Reverend Miller said. The only thing is, I think the church has to be more intentional. I think we have all done a great job of identifying the problem. But there's not enough Nehemiahs at the wall. Everybody shows up at church. Everybody shows up at Bible study.
But who's really doing something? I feel like I want to do so much more. I went to the walk Saturday. It was no walk.
D&D live on location, trying to give the people a voice, trying to give the people a platform. They say they're going to stop the violence, and we show up. I think we have to be more intentional. I think that we have to put things in place to get back out into the community. I think there needs to be more partnerships made, not just with other churches, but with community centers and community leaders. I think we got to go to the wall. See, in the story of Nehemiah, talked about how he made it out and how he was in the palace and he was doing good. And you know me, God has blessed me to see things in a certain light. So Nehemiah was doing good, eating good, living good. And his uncle came to him and said, man, the wall's tore down. We need some help. Well, if you know anything about the times, it was a certain time that you went and petitioned the king for resources. And if it wasn't that time, then you were subject to be killed for talking to the people. But his uncle said, your niece, Pookie, Nate,
Right.
Philemon, Vic, the walls tore down, man. And in this time, the walls is how you protected the family. He petitioned the king anyway, out of season. And the king was so moved. Well, first it says Nehemiah's heart was torn for his people.
He felt some type of way.
Now, I feel like, where does the church fit in these times? I feel like the church heart is torn because every minister I speak to it was in your voice. You feel for the community. You know something needs to be done. But the way society is set up, the way they have us financially enslaved and attached to these jobs and different things, like you said, fathers volunteering in the community, but so busy with their time, they're scared to petition the king because we're out of season. I think we need to grab life by the horns if our hearts is truly torn for the people and go petition the king. If that means going back to our job, say, hey man, I need some more time off. I know. If you're going to fire me, I know nobody wants to be fired. I know everybody has financial responsibilities, but we always say we trust God.
But do we really trust
Do
God?
we really trust Him to show up and show out? Are we really willing to put it all on the line to say that the issue is so bad and the gap has to be bridged that I'm willing to sacrifice it all to get out there on the battlefield? I feel like the church has to do more. I go to a great church and we do a lot inside the walls. We attempt to do a lot in our reaching and sending power. And I can't throw not one stone at my church for what they've done. But I challenge them to do more. Because for whatever we're doing, the problem is consistently growing. And if the problem is growing, then our efforts to combat the problem need to grow. I feel like each and every church needs a outside the church ministry. Not to feed the homeless. We're going to do that.
Right.
I ain't knocking that. I know you're going to the jail. I ain't knocking that. Who go to the community center? Who go to the high school?
There you go.
Who go read to the youth? They say a child learns everything they're going to have by the age 5. We can't do everything as a people, but if we have deacons and ministries and missions and this and that, I think we need to. If you are assigned to a family and you say you calling to check on this family, you know the dad
You
and the
really
mom ain't got
should.
no kind. Not just call and check, you might need to show up.
You need to show up.
You need to go. I ain't talking about for Sunday dinner when the dad at work. You need to go to the school and check on that child when the dad and the mom at work and they can't. I think the church needs to do more. Not that they don't do enough, or they haven't done. Not that they don't do a lot. But I think in these times, the church has to be called to more.
More is required.
And the only reason is because who else but the church? Who else has the capacity to love in spite of than the church? Greatest sermon I ever heard was 3 minutes long. It was said by a preacher out of Chicago. I don't even remember his name. We had opened up the new church. Reverend had invited all different people to give different sermonettes.
Was it watch night?
It was watch night, but it was our first night in the church. I don't know if it was watch night, but it was our first service in the church. It was at night. A bunch of different preachers came up and gave 3-minute snippets.
Okay.
He used less Bible references than anybody and spoke more truth.
I remember that.
He said, thank God for the church. If you like to kill, come to church. If you like to steal, come to church. If you like to rob, whatever you like to do, come to church. It's help and love for you here.
We need to bring that
powerful.
back. We need to be able to
That's
feel
very
that
powerful.
and know it.
That's very powerful.
Yes, we are all sinners. All have fallen short of the glory of God.
The church is supposed to be a refuge for
Yes.
everyone. And I think we've gotten away from that. This question, if you guys don't mind, is a very good question.
Well, let me ask you personally.
Yes.
Let me prepare the airways for your answer, Philemon. Mr. Philemon Hill, where does the church fit in during these times, in your opinion? Here in the city of Birmingham that you're petitioning to be the mayor from, how do you plan on partnering with local churches to bridge the gap and to reach the youth to get these initiatives cut down and accomplished that you got on your card here?
From my perspective,
Okay.
in this new role of running for mayor of Birmingham, my beloved Birmingham, my hometown,
Okay.
I think that we have to make sure first that the church wants this responsibility. There is a need. We have in Birmingham alone, we have over 500 churches. But it sounds good for various churches, various pastors to say, we want to help. But do the churches, since we've lost touch, and it seems as though our churches have become comfortable in the behavior, the normal behavior in which they're operating, do they really want to tackle? Because these are some very serious issues that we're facing. And as I develop my platform, I know that I'll have to go and meet with as many of these pastors, if not all of these
Yes,
pastors,
you will.
to gain their support, to see how we can collaborate on solutions. Because being a trained engineer, I'm problem solving driven, and so I would like to develop these mutually beneficial relationships with not just the citizens, not just the business owners, not just the corporations, but most definitely the churches. And this is a very serious issue that you just can't snap your finger and come up with a solution. It's going to be some heavy debate.
Yes.
There's going to be some disagreements. There's going to be a time where we won't have the answer. But if we can have and maintain mutual respect for one another and know that the end goal is a better Birmingham, because we came together no matter what your faith is, no matter what your religion is.
And that's a big deal.
It's
right there.
all for the better. And when I sit down and I think about what I'm going to say when I meet with the different pastor or the different groups of pastors, I'm not the type of individual that's going to just say, okay, what are your questions, and I'll respond. I'm the type of person that's going to have some questions for the pastors, because we have to make sure that they understand their responsibility in where we are today.
Okay, hold that thought. D&D Live, we have a call. Please speak your voice. Are you there? Okay, we lost you. Call back, 800-979-0802. We want to hear you. Okay, go ahead.
And so there is a deep responsibility, not only for those pursuing mayor, but for the members of the church. You're going to have to hold the leaders of your church responsible for at least having the conversation to find the solutions that plague our community.
Okay.
I can remember growing up, because I attended a church school from first grade all the way up to 8th grade. And so I was used to seeing the very...
Is the caller back? D&D Live.
Hey, how y'all doing, family?
We are doing
Doing well,
well. Who's calling? Hey,
Yes,
Brad,
sir.
how you doing?
Mr. Cummings?
Hey, how y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Doing well, brother.
Doing
Good to hear
well. How are
I had
you?
to call in. What's going on, Reverend Miller?
You're doing all's well.
I'm mayor candidate. I just had to
Good evening.
take it back off what he just said about does the church want the responsibility?
Mhm.
I think that we don't have a choice.
Say it,
You
Brad.
look back historically, especially in our city of Birmingham, the church played a critical role in the civil rights movement. The church always played a role in the community. Now, I think it's a shame, Reverend Miller said it, I just want to echo what he said. We've abandoned that training home. And we see it in our community. Young people in particular, they lost faith in the church. So we have to come from behind the position of those 4 walls and go out into the community. We have to do one for each.
Absolutely.
And I'm an advocate for mentorship. We have
That's
to
it.
do what Christ did. Christ made the world his poor people. So I think in many ways we become more complacent with building. Okay, I'm careful about saying the building is more so the building ministry. So we have to come from behind those 4 walls and reach people. That's just my 2 cents. I'm at work, y'all. I just want to say that.
We want to thank you for calling
Appreciate
in,
it.
Brad. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Love
Absolutely.
you. Thank you so much. Very positive words.
We're waiting on your shift to change, get you back in studio,
Yes.
man.
And keep praying for me, brother. Keep praying. I'm going to get back at it. Y'all be blessed.
You too.
Man, be safe at work and get it, Brad.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I just want to shout out the number again, 800-979-0802. And that was Brad Cummings. Thank you again for calling in, voicing your opinion.
And like I was saying, and I appreciate that caller and his comments, growing up in a church school, I was fortunate enough, the principal, the teachers, these were all individuals from the church that also taught in the school. So I pretty much was in school, but in church every day.
Every day.
And so even when I got to Parker High School, the influence and the positivity that came with Reverend Woods, who was a part of the civil rights movement, being the boys' counselor, was very impactful to me. And now you don't have that. And one of the questions that I've formulated for the pastors and the groups, the church groups that I'll be meeting with throughout this campaign, when was the last time any of these pastors have been to a school board meeting? Because there are some real serious issues that are going on that affects the youth.
Like all of these failing schools.
Exactly. And we need to see the pastors and we need to see the parents in those school board meetings.
We need the leaders of the community to rise up.
Correct. We need to, just like the gentleman said earlier, we need the churches to do more. And I'm glad the caller said that we have no choice. Our churches have no choice in accepting that responsibility. That is absolutely true. Anything and everything for our kids.
Yes.
Anything and everything for our kids. We have to be mindful of that because these are the young people that will be leading our city in the next 10, 15, 20 years. We can't assume control or leadership positions forever. We have to make sure and ensure that they are properly educated so they'll be capable of leading this city to new heights. And the church means so much to our community. Even before the civil rights movement, we have to remember that the church is where we got our education. That's where we got our economic development and growth and wealth in our community. Pretty much from the church is where everything comes from us. But we've gotten away with that because we've become comfortable.
Learn to live without it and you see the ending result.
Right. Right now, with 500 churches, and at any given time, you may have approximately 450 homeless people in the Birmingham area. Now, I'm quite sure that City Hall, between the mayor's office and the council's office, as well as these church leaders and the church members, we can come up with some solution that can ratify or get rid of homeless.
And that's why I really feel like we
plan.
need some new leadership, Birmingham, so bad, because we have a mayor, and this is the voice of the people. Our mayor has failed us. Go ahead.
I want to say this because I don't want people to think that we're our bashers. When I say the church, I'm not talking about the pastors.
The entire church.
I'm talking about the body of the church.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm screaming at pastors to do is to scream the call of action. See, I feel like pastors have been appointed as Ezekiels. They are the watchmen. In the word it says, Ezekiel, you are a watchman over my people. When you see trouble coming, your job is to sound the horn. Well, trouble is definitely coming. It's here. The red coats is at the door. So I think we need to scream that to the people. Lawrence came on the show 2 weeks ago. He called me on Wednesday. He said, Victor, I just left midday Bible that I couldn't sit in there. He goes every week.
He's a deacon.
Deacon at his church. He said, I couldn't sit in there no more. I said, why? He said, because they ain't talking about what's going on.
Correct.
They blinding the people. The call is not being sent out.
Correct. Correct.
See, this is a living word. It's not a bottled up in the church word. It's an applicable word that you can apply each and every day.
Every day.
I teach the children basic instructions before leaving earth. That's what Bible stands for. Anything you're dealing with is in there. But I think we're hiding that from them, dressing it up in a coat and a suit, and dressing some heels and a purse. And we having them thinking it's about the assembly of the saints and coming in and singing and feeling good and giving money.
Right.
But the one thing about it, the church body will listen to the pastor. I know that by working in ministry. If the pastor says we got a children's ministry going and every child in the church needs to be there, 90% of the children in the church
That's right.
going.
They're going.
If the pastor say we singing outside in the rain on Sunday, I need the choir there. he gonna get 65% of them out there in the rain with umbrellas fussing. If he can
But they
rally
don't show
that
up.
many people,
Correct. Correct.
my pastor, I love you to death, Reverend West, does a great job of saying when we have a partner mission project with the people across the mountain,
That
But
we
we-
need to show up.
that we need to show up.
Mhm.
Some we do, some we don't. But we got a lot of things going on in West End that I need you to get up there and tell them people, you ain't even got to drive.
Correct.
You ain't got to get dressed up. You can walk across the street. Because he said the reason we rebuilt our church. And we've had 5 pastors in over 125 years. The 5th pastor is still sitting today.
Hmm.
Now I believe in him because he could be put in the Guinness Book of World Records. We've had 2 building funds and we've built twice. You know that's historical for a black
Yes.
church.
It happened.
It happened.
Real.
He spent the building fund on building. Real talk. I saw it. I go.
Okay.
So that's monumental. But he said when we build it, we're gonna build it in West End. He said because Jesus said he came for the broke, the sick, and the destitute. 35211 is one of the most dangerous zip codes in the southeastern United States.
Yes.
So that resonated with my heart. But we can't be a jewel and a beacon of light in the community that's missing the community.
Yeah.
You're right.
See, now we got great sending power across the mountain. We got great sending power in Zimbabwe. We got great, hey, what season from? We got great sending power everywhere. Over here,
Shout
over
out to
there.
Season Duna.
Season Duna, I love you, man. He in California now. But he started a Barrels of Blood where we're sending back his native country in Africa. And we're doing this and we're doing that. But we got sister churches right down the street from us that can use old curriculum and material that we're shipping across the water to teach the children in their community. Right down the street, they're shooting at the kids at our church. See, that goes basketball there. And we got, you wouldn't believe this. You know how Illiton and Smithfield used to fight?
Yes.
Man, listen. We had Greater Shallow and New Hope fight. The teenagers, man.
Are you kidding me?
I coach basketball now. I'm telling you, a 15-year-old boy from New Hope.
Wow.
That don't make no sense. We
No.
found out who all this going on. These boys go to New Hope. I know your mama.
Right. Right.
You went to New Hope your whole life. This little boy here went to Greater Shallow his whole life. I know his mama. So if y'all into it and we 4 blocks away, then both churches fail. I don't care how many people you saved across the water. He said, reach, teach, and baptize. Here comes the important part. Beginning
In your community.
in your community.
Correct.
If we ain't hitting home, and I just think the churches need to do more here. I think the churches need to have a bigger presence in their community. I think instead of having ministry fairs on the ground, they need to get with a local community center and have a ministry fair at gym outside on the
Church
grass
need
so
to go to
people
the
can.
streets. We need to come out of
They
the
ain't
streets.
coming no more. Like you said, the millennials, they ain't
They're not
coming.
coming.
But guess what? If we go to the park and they ride by,
And we just don't
and
have-
it's jumping out there, they just might stop.
And we don't have the parents that we had that
make
made
it.
us go. You know? If my mom didn't go to church, you better bet that van was coming.
And you better been on.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you got back, you need to know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what
And
they
you better put your dollar in and don't go to that little store on the corner.
Because the Sabbath don't tell.
It was mentioned earlier that we need to refocus on family. And that's one of our the black community has really gotten away from that. We have to make sure that, I don't care if it's at the community rec, if it's at the church, some kind of way we need to have family development programs so that we can teach these young kids who are having kids at early ages how to be fathers, how to be mothers.
And not friends and sisters and brothers.
Correct. We have to get back to the traditional, the old school way of instilling family values and get away from just it being a physical thing to where it is a spiritual thing.
That's right.
Because getting away from that, we see what happens. It gets us to this point to where in the last 14 days we've had how many homicides?
Jesus.
It's just astronomical right now. And that's because the people who were going to church, the people who we have lost, they don't feel the love.
It's a
That
disconnection.
family love. That
I definitely
disconnect
agree
brings
with you.
along the negativity. And we have to get back to bringing families together in love, not
Right.
judgment,
That's
but
right.
love. And once we start doing that, and research has shown that if you really want to have a meaningful impact on lowering crime, we have to put jobs back in our communities. We have to put quality education back in our communities. And we have to make sure we improve and revitalize goes from that, we're just talking.
Those young kids go to school, they live in West End. I lived in West End a number of years. It looks bad. No one wants to do anything in their community because look how it looks, you know. You're not proud of it. So how do you think that makes them feel at 14, 15? There's no hope. So they live their life, a hopeless life. There's no disconnect. They never reach that spirit man inside. So they don't have no self-conviction. They don't know.
Well, when we see the values changing in our homes, we see a lot of our kids are just trying to make it. They don't really have that leadership that they need in order to develop the values that will enable them to be responsible men and women growing up. And that's one of the things that we're looking at as a church going forward. We want to make sure that we start a mentoring program. We have one of our new members who joined our church who actually is going to start doing gift assessment and spiritual gift assessment in our church, and we're going to also develop a mentoring program for our young men. Now, I know the biggest challenge that we're going to have is probably identifying men who are willing to serve as mentors. It's probably one of the biggest problems that we're going to have, and I know you mentioned earlier, Mayor Candidate, that you want to get with the pastors. Well, my thing is, if you're going to get with the pastors, we need to identify some potential resources, especially those men who are in government, those business leaders, that we can actually get engaged in our mentoring program. Not for the sake of camera shots, but for the sake of actually getting involved in the lives of these kids, because
Really
many of them
making a
who are being raised in homes without a father, they need that mentor to come into their life, spend some time with them, carry them to a ball game, spend some time in Bible study with them, help them to see what it means to be a respectful young man, how he should treat his wife, how he should treat, one another. And if that actually happens, we can actually start having an impact in our communities.
Right.
So that's the thing I'm going to be looking for at our next leaders in the mayor's office and in other positions. What are you doing to try to partnership with the church to help us to have an impact in our community?
Right. I totally agree, and I support that because I think it was one of Denzel's movies where he was the head football coach, and there was a conversation between Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Two of the players got into a heated discussion. They both played defense, and one of the young men told the other, "Attitude reflects leadership." And that's where Birmingham is. That's where our churches are, and we can. Within the last, I would say, 7, 8, 9 months. And we have a caller?
Yes. DNZ Live, this is your girl Dashita. You are live. Thank you for calling. Don't be afraid.
Caller.
Hey, what's going on, Vic? This is Maurice.
Hey, Maurice. How are you?
Hey.
This is another one of our pastors from Greater Shiloh.
Oh, hey, man. Everybody doing good?
Doing
Doing
good.
well.
How about you?
Yes.
Man, I'm doing good, man. I was just listening to what y'all was saying. I agree wholeheartedly with what y'all was saying is we as the church, man, got to get outside those four walls, man, and start get out in the community and ministering to these young guys, man, not beating them over the head, but giving them a choice and helping them realize Jesus is the reason, man.
Yes.
I'd rather see somebody accept Christ than accept a gun, if you get what I'm saying. You think about it, when we was growing up, wasn't no choice of, like you said, Big Boy, and there wasn't no choice of, I'm not going to church today. Nah, you're going to go to church, you're going to be in church all day long.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, one go ahead and say about you was gonna like
That's
it.
what it was.
Yeah, and then you had people, like I live in the neighborhood where Lena would come pick me up, man. My mom being worked on Saturday. Lena would come pick me up and take me to Sunday school.
You know, one note saying that, nah, I ain't going. You know, you didn't have a want to eat, man, or what they want to do. Instead of saying, nah, you gonna eat this, you gonna go to church today. You know, if hands are busted about it. You think about it, if you didn't go to church, you played hooky from church, man, you couldn't even go outside the whole week.
No, you couldn't. Or act like you sick. You better stay sick.
Because you going to sleep when you get home
Yeah.
at 1:30.
Yeah.
We'll see you Monday morning.
Man,
But we definitely
man,
need that back.
Listen, you talk about, you know, the kids with New Hope and stuff, man. We did that.
You remember that?
The thing about it, the thing about it, man, those kids come back and still appreciate the leadership that we showed
sure
them,
do.
man. The stuff we showed them, not only about the basketball, but about Christ and about life.
Because if we ran behind them, you remember that, Maurice? We ran behind them boys. We jumped in our car, chasing boys with pistols, trying to bridge a gap and shut down. I couldn't even, this is the first time my wife heard this story, I couldn't even tell. She was making me quit.
The church.
Right.
You think about it, man. We took some teams over there to Dawson Memorial.
Yes.
You know, we was the only 2 black teams that we had over there, along with another. So I say 3 black teams.
Bridging the gap.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and showing them outside the church walls, man, showing them that we are the church. You know, church starts in the home. It don't start when you get to church on Sunday morning.
Absolutely.
It starts in the home, man. You can praise God anywhere,
That's
all
right.
day, all night long. So I just wanted to call in and tell you I keep the good work, man. God bless you. God keep you. And love you all, man.
Thank you, Maurice. Love you too. We
and
would
hold on
love
before
to
you
have
go.
you be a guest panelist, Maurice. Yeah, we're getting you live on
Yeah,
air.
live on air.
97 countries can hear you.
Right now, when you come in the
now.
studio. She said, live on air, we trying to get a committee. 97 countries can hear you, Maurice.
Just let me know. Just let me know what you want me to do, man. You know I'm obedient.
Okay.
I want to give a special shout out. I want to give you a special shout out, Maurice Delane. He is the spearheader of our youth sports ministry at Greater Shallow. Since we've had our rebuilding project, we have not done much in some areas, but Maurice still talks to the youth, still speaks to the youth, still has relationships with those youth. And when our ministry was up and thriving, he was the reason that we had the platform. He bridged the gap. He did the paperwork. He put things in place so we can show those guys something other than what Shiloh had to offer. When we didn't have practice space, he went next door to the middle school and negotiated with the middle school so we could have room for both teams to be able to practice.
Okay.
You know, we gave you a hard time along the way, especially me, Maurice. But I want to give you your flowers before you die, man. I appreciate you for everything you did, and I want it to be known that you are the reason that we were able to reach the children that we did reach through the sports ministry at Greater Shallow.
Shout out to Maurice Delane.
Shout out to Maurice Delane, man.
Big shout out to Reverend Brad and you too, instead, and I'll get out y'all way of what y'all do Sunday after Sunday, Wednesday after Wednesday. Not only with the chairman and the youth, man, you have to think about it. Now, I'm going to go Greater Shallow as a feeder system. You have the Teeny Tiny Angels, Cherubland, youth, college age, young adult men and women, senior ministry. You think about that. It's a feeder system, man. So you're not missing nothing. Everything's on a beat as you go through everything at that church, man. You're not going to just sit on the pew. You're going to get in the game some kind of way.
That's right. And this is for the listeners. I always shout out our church, and I always say, well, my church ain't like that. It's not. He's another one of our youth pastors, and he'll tell you.
We try. We try.
We really do.
And that's why I said I can't say what we don't do. I'm just saying the times and what's going on is increasing, and we just got to figure out a way to do more.
And also, Reverend Miller, keep up the good work, man. Proud of you as well, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Your prayers mean a whole lot, man.
Okay, man. Y'all take it easy and I'll talk to y'all. Just let me know what you need me to do.
Will do. Thank you, Maurice.
Take care, bro.
Okay. All right. God bless.
God bless. Shout out to Maurice Delane.
Yes, one of our co-laborers in Christ, one of our brothers fighting a good fight.
Mm-hmm. No, you never did tell me about that.
You're supposed to act like you didn't hear that.
I heard all of that. And how old were those boys?
15.
Lord have mercy.
That's when we were coaching at 16 and under league,
And they had guns?
Yeah, a couple different times they came up to the church.
Oh my God.
Reverend came, yeah, we had to. But what were we to do? To stay inside and call the police on them?
And another thing is you can't expect, especially kids at that age, even when adults don't have any exposure to conflict resolution, they're going to react based on what they see and what their environment shows them. And their environment shows
we need
guns
to teach
and violence.
problem solving,
Yes. civil resolution, and conflict resolution.
Yes.
That's what we have to get back to. And right now there is no, because like the pastor said earlier, a lot of these kids are left to try and survive on their own. A lot of them don't have both parents.
No.
A lot of them don't have parents. And those that have grandparents, that dynamic, there's going to be several generation gaps. And so there's going to be a disconnect. And so we need, again, I can't emphasize it enough, we have to get outside the four walls of the church, because life is happening outside those four walls. I go to the library in my community, over in the Titusville community a lot. And we're asking a lot of the librarians, once these kids get out of school, we're asking them to be counselors, we're asking them to be police officers, we're asking them to be everything other than being librarians, because these kids are now leaving school, coming to the library, and now all of them are trying to study or learn something in their library. That's just the in-between time before they have to go home, if they're going home.
So they just wasting time, basically.
Right. And so if you had more people from the church that may be tutoring or giving reading classes, because reading is a deficiency within our school system, volunteering to be reading coaches or math coaches, just so the presence is there, will help a lot. And so if life is happening outside the church, I think the church would be wise in getting outside the church so we can make our city the best place to live. Because right now we're dealing with some serious issues, and the only reason we haven't come together is because we're trying to ignore the responsibility.
Is that what it is?
Continue to do. Yes, of course. For some reason, contentment, in my opinion, being content, getting comfortable.
Well, that's not going to happen to me.
It has allowed us to get to this point. And again, our leadership, and I'm not afraid to say it, just because this is supposed to be politics. You're not supposed to say.
This is the voice of the people.
Uncensored.
Uncensored, but in a respectable way.
Exactly. My parents taught me to shoot straight from the hip.
D&D Live 97 Countries Live, baby. Who we got?
This is Cindy.
Hi,
So I
Cindy.
just wanted to make a general comment about what you guys are talking about with the church getting outside the walls of the actual building. The problem is that a lot of times the church will show up when there is a problem. They'll show up if someone's been mistreated by the police, or if the system has neglected them in some way, or they'll have some sort of extension for you in that regard. But we need to get in front of some of those issues.
Absolutely.
I grew up in a much smaller town, but one of the things we could count on is the fact that there was a deacon pretty much on every corner of the neighborhood. So when you walked to school in the morning, someone was watching. And you were not only accountable to your parents, but you were accountable to, the watchers and also the church. And there's no real formula for that now. We're so contained with the 8 o'clock service and getting out and getting home, or the 11 o'clock service and getting done so we can get to the restaurant on time. And, it's just become so institutionalized that there's no real true service to the community from the church. And I think that's so unfortunate.
It really is unfortunate.
Great comments.
Thank you so much for calling in, Cindy.
I would have to agree with Cindy on. You go ahead and establish a plan just in case that problem may happen. And we are so reactionary that we forget to be proactive. And we need to be proactive. We know where we are now. And we need to put together a plan to solve this problem of where we are now so that we won't come to it in the end.
Exactly.
In the future. And so Birmingham has the opportunity with the situations that we're in now to say, okay, let's burn some midnight oil and figure this out. Whatever we have to do to fix it, let's do it so that we won't have to cross this bridge again. Because if we sit back and continue not to do anything, it's going to get worse.
Oh my God.
It's going to get worse.
So you can imagine it getting worse.
And this is without having a leader in office that says, look,
enough is enough.
Enough is enough. 18 failing schools, that's unacceptable.
Okay.
I take pride in the fact that I was on the math team in SEGME at Parker High School when we beat Ramsey in competition. For Parker High School to be on the failing schools list,
unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
For as many schools that's on that list is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And to have to hear now that, well, the students now they don't have the same pride y'all used to have. Okay, so church members, parents, teachers, let's teach
so
them.
True. You know, I had to speak on
let's teach them
on a personal experience. You know, I have a daughter that's same age as all the other kids that's going through so much, and she went through had her talk to everybody that I could have her talk to, because I felt like we wasn't getting through to her.
Yeah.
I had her talking to this person, that person, people that, you know, I knew that she had a relationship with that could really help her, because I wasn't helping her. My baby got 4 A's.
Hello.
This is a year later.
Hello.
She's on a debate team.
There you go.
She's at the military ball right now. She
Deca.
dress up ROTC every Tuesday. I'm so proud of her.
There you go.
FBLA.
FBLA, Future Business Leaders.
There you go.
She's part of that. She's in the dual enrollment.
All hands on deck.
She's taking college course in the 10th grade.
If you know that it's an issue and you put God first and you step outside those walls, because it was an issue.
Well, you said something that's very profound. And a lot of people, especially politicians, especially pastors, are very reluctant to do what you said. You humbled yourself.
Yes.
And admitted
It's
that
an
you
issue.
may need help.
I need some help.
You may need the village. A lot of people
working.
aren't willing to. That's a very profound thing. And so I'm a very self-aware person. So I know what some of my deficiencies or area of improvement may be. And I'm willing to accept those because I'm the type of person that, like, every day that I'm given on this earth, I like to minimize those inefficiencies.
Yes.
And so one of my mottos for Legacy Sports Academy is get better every day. And you can't get better every day if you think you're good at everything.
That's right.
And for you as a parent to say, you know what, I need some help from the village.
I cried out.
The entire village, the church, the schools, the family, everybody.
Yes, the schools were so tired of us, but I need some help.
Exactly. And so we as a collective community, especially the church, has to be willing to say, where can we improve? Because we have to do more. We have to engage not only our constituents. Just because, and I think sometimes we get caught up in, well, they're not a member of my church. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. We can't.
We should.
We can't do that. We have to. If anybody who has a need, it doesn't matter whether or not they're a member of your church. They have a need that you can help fulfill. And so once we get back to that family thing, if everybody in the church, outside the church, just in the Birmingham community, in the world community, the human community say, you know what, we're all one family, then everything starts to improve.
We can really make a difference.
It's really about getting back to the basics. I think sometimes we make it more complicated than it really is.
I agree.
When we go back and look at the way the family used to be, it was very simple. Dad played a very instrumental role in the family. He made sure that He carried the family to church and not just sent them to church. So your sons are going to do what they see their fathers do, and their daughters are going to do what they see their mothers do. And so therefore, again, it goes back to us making sure we're providing role models for our kids, and let them know it's not about that athlete who's on TV or that professional person who's in the entertainment industry, but real men and women in our communities who make a difference. One of the things I try to ask our young people to do is give me your schedule when you playing football, when you playing basketball, and just for them to be able to look up in the stands and to see someone from the church in the audience makes all of this of the difference in the world.
Right.
And they see that you care about me more than just getting me to church, but you care about me outside of the church.
Feeling.
And so therefore we have to go back and realize if we invest in their lives outside of those four walls, they will then feel compelled to be inside of those four walls, that they will be prepared to make a difference in the lives of other people as well. So, it's really about getting back to the basics. So I'm hoping and praying that, as we're coming up with all of our mission and vision statements, as we're coming up with all of our fancy ways of doing things, that we go back and really hold ourselves accountable. Ask ourselves at the end of each year, what did we do to make an impact in our community? It's a sad thing when a church has been in the community for 100 years and that community has not changed in 100 years.
Right. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm speechless right there. 100 years in the community is still the same. That's a big deal.
Well, Birmingham is a very unique place.
See, I'm not a native of Birmingham.
Okay, but Birmingham is a very unique place. It was great to hear you all mention Rem Shuttlesworth's name at the beginning of the show.
Oh yes, hashtag be like Fred. He was our spotlight last week.
Yes, and he went through a lot. And he went through a lot for not just his kids, but for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And see, my father worked for 30 years, coached and taught welding for 30 years at Phillips High School.
That's my mama.
And Shuttlesworth is a part of that history at Phillips High School.
Okay.
And so in understanding that, and understanding the timeline of the civil rights movement here in Birmingham, you have to understand, and I don't mean this in a negative sense, but very few pastors, both black and white, even the liberal whites, if you've read the letter, Martin Luther King's letter from the Birmingham jail, he chastised the pastors from Birmingham because they didn't want to support his platform. And if you apply that to today, you can better understand how much more encouraging we'll have to do from the churches to get them involved in this situation. Because
even then they weren't.
No, they were not. This man had to rely on children. It wasn't until the children left school, left Paul High School, left Carver. See, that's what we have to remember.
Our original guest,
first guest
on our first show back in July 2016 when this thing started. Original foot soldier, member of the Children's March, Janice Kelsey.
Yes.
She said she left home with her toothbrush that morning. She knew where she was going.
Right. You have to be willing to make certain sacrifices.
That's the key.
For the betterment of our community.
That's right. And that goes back to what I was saying. How many people are willing to petition the king? See, her parents told her don't go.
Correct.
And from all the stories I've heard of Katie Wesley and they daddy, you don't mess with them. You didn't go against what they said. But she knew a change had to take place.
Correct.
So she put it all out there. Now you have to imagine as a child to go back in the 60s when you were a good child from a good home to go against what your parents
courageous.
said. Yes. At a time where every neighbor in the neighborhood had permission to whoop you if you was wrong. So you stood to get 62 whoopings on the way back home.
If Bull Connor didn't kill you, your mom was going to whoop you.
Okay.
Guaranteed. After Miss Bessie got through with it.
Shout out to Miss
So, where are the people who are willing to petition the king? See, they look at it, again, basic instructions before leaving Earth. we look at this stuff as biblical and don't apply to us. But it's an applicable word. There's a king in everybody's life right now that's over the resources. It's a king that you, whether you physically ask him or whether you check that schedule to see if you can go or whatever, there's something that's ruling over you other than God.
Lord help.
That you check in with first before you move. And they have their thumb so on most of us that we don't even realize that we're being oppressed.
Exactly. And that's Birmingham. That's the definition of Birmingham right now, and we don't even realize it.
But I say it can be fixed through the church.
It has to be.
It has to be.
I know that's a bold statement for all you non-believers and whoever you may be. I feel like the unity is in the church. Greatest sermon I ever heard. The church, the only people I ever heard say that. If you like to kill people, come to church. If you like to steal, kill, and rape, come. Don't nobody take that. That's healing. That's acceptance. That's come be a part of. If the church don't reach out. See, back then when they had the revivals and all the things going on, only people had revivals now is to flow through churches. Back in the day, your church had a revival.
And it was a week long.
Where you sat outside, blocks away from where the church was, to bring people in. Now, what we do is invest all our money on the inside.
Correct.
And hope they come look.
Wow.
My pastor says you shouldn't be known for your seating capacity, but your sending capacity. I agree with that. The only thing I'm saying is, how far you sending them? Don't let them pass by. Well, what's that story in the Bible? The man and the pastor passed and the devil passed. The Samaritan.
Yeah, good Samaritan.
The Good Samaritan.
Don't pass all the folks in the ditch trying to go save somebody over there. You passed 7 people you could have helped. Trying to.
And see, that's the reason I asked the question earlier. And I asked this question when I made my campaign announcement. And it was also a challenge. How many people have been to a school board meeting? The reason is education is the most important attribute in all of our lives.
Yes, it is.
It allows you to shape your vision and perspective of the future. It prepares you for the future, and it prepares you to be a global competitor. And Birmingham has gotten to a point to where our educational system is just a local thing. The reason why the criminal justice system over the municipal court is able to generate so much money because we have a flawed education system. So they're dropping out, and we're not preparing them to be productive citizens. We're preparing them to be productive criminals.
Yes. Yes.
And
Setting them up
so
for
we also
failure.
have to be willing to challenge the criminal justice officials and the police chief.
Because the system is already designed to fail us.
We have to question everything. Everything, because everything impacts us, but it starts with education. Education is key to our very existence. That's how we're going to get to my Dean Davis. I have to give him an enormous amount of credit. He told us on the first day of grad school. He said, I promote entrepreneurship. He said, now I'm here to prepare all of you to continue on and work in brand marketing at various corporations. He said, but the ones who are going to give that big check back to Clark Atlanta School of Business are the entrepreneurs, because they will have done what it takes to build that brand that they created, and they won't have to worry about restrictions. And even the late Judge J. Richmond Pearson said the same thing about A.G. Gaston. He said the reason why people didn't like A.G. Gaston is because he was his own man. He built his wealth, self-made man. And if you think about it, even though he didn't have the traditional high school, collegiate, doctoral education, he was trained by someone else that led to his wealth. So I'm not one to say everyone has to get that traditional education. But if it's our responsibility to provide a quality public education, that's what we're supposed to do so that these kids will have the necessary tools, whether it's at a 4-year college, a 2-year college, or just a
Trade school.
a trade school, something that will set the foundation for their ascension of being productive citizens. And we're not doing that right now. And the church, the parents, everybody involved in the city of Birmingham is kind of trying to cover their eyes, acting like that problem doesn't exist. We have to address it. And it takes courage to address it.
And I think there's another element that we've not talked about tonight that I think we can't forget about, and that is that this is a spiritual battle that we're in. I think we focus so much on the physical aspects of life that we fail to realize that there's an enemy who's designed to take the family out and by any means necessary. You know, it's pretty much clear what his goal is in John 10:10, steal, kill, and to destroy. And I always add to do that by any means necessary. And he knows that if he can disrupt the family, he's going to disrupt the neighborhood, which disrupts the community, which disrupts the church, which disrupts businesses. I mean, it has a global impact. And if we can get back to the basics and making sure that we understand that our battle is not with each other. And that's another reason where we make our mistakes. We fight each other, failing to realize the enemy is sitting on the sideline and, you know, rejoicing the fact that he's caused us to not look at the real issue, not look at the real enemy, who he's the real enemy, and stop fighting one another. So I'm hoping and praying that we can get to that point where we stop fighting one another, where we start laying down our arms and our knives and get back to the point where we start gathering together as communities. You know, I would issue a challenge to every church to look at the community that you're in and ask yourself the one question: what have we done to make the community better? What have we done to make the community better? What have we done to reduce crime in our community? What have we done to bring families back together in our community? What have we done to get some of these kids off of the corners in our communities? What have we done as a church? Because if we have not done anything in our communities as a church, we can forget about going other places.
Right.
Because people are looking at what we're doing. You know, we look at our individual families. If we're not doing a good job as leaders in our families, then why should we try to reach out and correct somebody else's family? So that's the challenge I'm issuing. That's the challenge I issue myself every day when I think about my role as pastor, as when I think about my role as a religious leader. What are we doing in the community? And so that's the challenge that I lay out before others as well.
It's interesting you say that. I'm going to be real quick with this, if you don't mind. To that point, Judge Pearson, if I remember correctly, and I want to say this correctly, was the first African-American circuit court judge in the state of Alabama. And this man told me a story one day about his church members and the men in his community serving, and this is during the time when Bull Connor was the man in Birmingham. They were bombing churches, black churches. But the black men from those churches and in the communities, they stood as policemen and guards throughout the night, taking shifts, protecting those churches. We got to get back to that.
That's right.
We got to get the men in these churches and the communities on post so we can reclaim our communities and save our kids. And that's the challenge that the pastor is speaking about.
The only thing, and I appreciate and I respect your challenge. I commend you for it, and I hope everyone listening rises to the occasion. But I think we have to dig a little deeper in the challenge. Because the thing that I think we miss is we've told our children, we've been told to do well, to make it, and to move on. So most of the people that go to your church don't stay in your church's community.
You're right, they don't.
That's why I said it's back on the church, and if the pastor has to put things together in the community around the church, he has to partner with the local community centers. He has to reach out to the local groups because people commute to come to church.
Yes, they do.
And then that's why they're trying to get to the restaurants and because they don't stay here. I'm not walk to church. Yeah, I just want you to go outside after church and see how many people walk away. Now, back in the 60s, when they protected the church, he stayed 3 blocks, he stayed 3 houses down. And I couldn't let this church burn because it might get mine too.
Right, right.
But now that we've moved out, that's why I keep saying Nehemiah's.
Mm-hmm.
See, Nehemiah ain't got to be the rich man, just the man that made it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't them but from Collegeville to Bush Hills. Now you up on the hill, you got your little house, you ain't in the projects no more. But you still go to church over there in Collegeville, where they killing each other at. Mm-hmm. But you ain't did not one service project in Collegeville since you moved out. That's what I mean about my church. We are a collection of people from around almost Alabama. We got people that commute 2 hours to come to service at our church. So when we're sending people back out to work back in communities, we're not sending them to West End.
Right.
We're sending these people, and because they're so sparse and spread out, it's like raindrops that are badly falling. We got to put collective efforts together. We got to have these things at the community centers in our community, where the church sits. That's why it was so impactful for me to hear my pastor say, we want to stay right here in 35211. But let's not just stay here. Let's affect change right here.
In 35211.
Now he said we're partnering with Princeton and we're trying to put a medical center out back of the church, and we do some things in our community. So anybody that's listening live, don't think I'm bashing up. I'm just saying
we can do more.
We can do more. Because when I leave church every day, there's an A1 gas station next to it. It's at least 6 guys out there drunk. Mm-hmm. And when I leave, I go across the street to Jet Pep. It's at least 7 more over there that hadn't thought about the word, and ain't nobody that came from church with me trying to get them no word. Mm-hmm. I know because I be in the parking lot looking at them, hurrying up, locking their doors, clutching their purses, and, and grabbing, don't you speak, come on, boy. But we the church.
Right, right.
Are we really the church? Are we really here to heal? Now, all of us showed up at the Christian mission services to pack them baskets. We did that. We cut them folk grass over there. We planted crops and all of that. But we got 8 community gardens in West End. We ain't had one trip to one of them. Just saying. I know because I took my daughter. She's 16. She'll be 16.
You drove right past all the
I drove right past all the community gardens in West End. Right over there where the church
so we
is
all,
on the south side.
And in saying that, we all need to do a
little bit more.
Right.
And
get better every day.
And that's what I mean, the church.
It's a work in progress.
I keep saying this, Reverend Miller, and I told you when I brought you on. This is definitely not a bashing. Because you are so not who I'm looking at. You are the head. But only because God put you there. The responsibility and the weight of what's going on, I can't hold you responsible. Because each man holds the church inside of themselves. Each man was given a talent. Yeah, he might have gave you 5. You can preach, dance, sing, do this and do that. But with the one he gave me, I got to do something with it. Right. Each and everybody got to be held accountable for the talents God gave them. And you got to sow them back into somebody. We are the church. And everybody in the church got to do a little bit more.
But as a leader in the church, it's my responsibility to make sure that we provide the mechanisms, we provide the various ministries to get our people engaged. And like you said earlier, if the pastor says we're going to go out and we're going to start ministering to the community street by street, we're going to reclaim the community. That's going to be play a huge role, and not just say, okay, y'all go out there and do that. But we going to go out here and make this happen. We don't want to go door to door. We don't want to do in-home Bible studies in the community because we're afraid of the gangbangers and all this other drug activity that's going on. But the thing is that when it's hard for people to hate you when you're loving on them.
Right. Look, you remember we used to do the
That's right
before we used to do the ministry fair, before we moved to the new church, when we were still small. We used to do a parade in the community.
Yes, it was awesome.
Through the whole community announcing the ministry fair. We ain't just do it up here.
And VBS.
And VBS. We ain't just do it up here and say, tell you, cause you know this for all y'all good folks who come to church, pay your tithe. We're gonna give you a big piece of cake. No, we went to the community and said, anybody out there that's trying to see God, know God, you ain't got to be. If you're hungry, if you want to hear something, you want to be around some good people. You got to bring these people back in. You got to quit having ministry fairs in the hall.
Right.
Got to quit having ministry fairs outside. Because the people in here already committed. Yeah. The people in here already, they may not be well, but they on their way.
I from a mayoral campaign perspective, the approach that you're taking and the responsibility that you just spoke of from the pastor of your church, at a larger scale is the responsibility and the duty of the mayor to energize and encourage all of the pastors, all of the citizens to come together in that same perspective or vein. Because as a mayor, from how I see it, in this role, I'm supposed to be a coach. I'm supposed to rally the troops. I'm supposed to encourage a teamwork of the pastors, of the community leaders to say, look, we need to work together to remedy this. It can't be 3 pastors wanting it and the other 497 that don't. Some kind of way, I got to rally the entire team.
You need all 500.
We need all 500 to come together to get to lower this crime. We need to come together, all 500 plus the mayor and plus the city council to get rid of this homeless. We have to work together. And it would probably be the first time in Birmingham's history.
Can't be no one person.
But let me show you how
it never happened.
The same way you eat an elephant.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yes.
See, if you partner with Reverend Miller, and Reverend Miller just said, he almost, I don't know if you listen to South Rowboat to what the man said. I know him. He's almost committed, y'all. Said what
y'all better be ready.
Right, I saw smoke coming out of his ears. He was thinking just then. He almost is committed to taking back South Rowboat. So if you partner with him as the mayor, and each mayor signs a media contract with a new media plug. Say you partner with D&D Live.
That's D&D Live right
So
now.
every time he goes out in the community, D&D Live is streaming in 97 countries, broadcasting the collaboration of Mayor Hill and Reverend Miller.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Next Saturday when you do it, 3 more folks gonna try to get in front of that camera.
Correct.
Then the following,
the only change I have is take the word if out and win.
There
you go.
What you say?
I'm with that. When you do it, if you partner with him, because I know him, he's committed to change. He has a heart for the people. If you start in South Rowboat,
shout out to Reverend Miller.
He got guys that believe in him. Reverend Maurice Delane ain't called in this show
ever, but he do listen.
He does listen.
And he watches.
But he saw his homeboy on his night what he believed in. And see, we're on opposite sides of town. It takes 25 minutes to get from his church to our church.
Right.
Reverend Miller can call any of the ministers at our church and they'll stand up for him. They'll show up to where he at. And they know ministers and they know ministers. So when you make it, partner with Reverend Miller. And them 500 churches you talking about, one step at a time.
Right.
Because a lot of the churches that he's
will be there to
into,
live stream.
There you go.
and we're going to broadcast. See, we're not going to suppress it. We're not going to give you a 2-minute clip. We're going to give the uncensored, unadulterated truth. We're going to tell the people where you can come get plugged in to direct healing. Unification. Where your people are trying to see about you. D&D Live.
The voice of the people. We love our community, all the communities across the world love our people, and we want all of each other to be as one. It's the common goal. Bridge the gap. We're going to go on a 2-minute commercial break, and then we'll be getting ready to get off air.
Yes, because before we want to go, do you want to do any one of our spotlights? Would you like for me to go into?
I can do my spotlight moment. I wanted to highlight Pasadena Youth Christian Center. It was a organization that I grew up with when I lived in California, and what they was a community. They were like basically community activists. They would go out and pick us up and take us to the community center. All of us kids, maybe we was 8 to 16 or 8 to 18, and we learned about Christ. We played games. We learned problem-solving skills. We learned how to deal with one another. We were able to talk to people, get our voices out. And it just wasn't a Bible study. It was more of a, come on in, let's do some arts and crafts. We care about the community. We need those type of organizations around. The youth needs that. That saved me as a child.
Yeah,
It was awesome. I look forward to it every Tuesday and Thursday. If I remember correctly, it was from 5:30 to 7:30. And they fed us. They were awesome. They lasted 43 years. I looked them up. They
Wow.
closed. But for me...
Somebody lost a vision.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, for me to have that in me, that means a lot. So I know all those other children that was a part of it. I know they still remember all those things that we learned, and, you know, how to love our community and love on one another. I'm not a Birmingham native, but I love Birmingham. And I want to see it do better.
Correct.
I want to see our youth live and not die on the middle of the road or on their way to school or on their way home from school.
That's one of the things I'm grateful about our leaders in our church. We have a ministry for young girls called Diamonds in the Rough. They meet every Tuesday evening, and we provide them with a meal, and then we provide them with training and Bible study. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us spending time with these kids, and you know, and again, you may have to feed them before you try to teach them, because some of them are coming from homes where they're not getting adequate meals, and some of them are coming from abusive situations, so they need to feel the love that we're able to pour in their lives when they come in. And so those are the kind of things that we're looking at doing and continuing to do and going forward as a ministry. You know, and at the end of each quarter, and at the end of each month, what did we do to make a difference? What did we actually do to make a difference? Not just how many Bible studies we had, but you know, as we're being challenged tonight, go out in the community, make a difference. And so, you know, we're going to do some things with a little bit more, with a greater intensity than we've done in the past. Because again, I don't want at the end of my ministry to be able to look back and to see that the community where I resided was no better.
Right.
After being there 10, 15, 20, 30 years, however long the Lord will allow me to be there.
Amen.
I want to know that we've made a difference. We made a difference.
And, you know, PYCC made a difference in my life. And
Wow.
I needed to say that because
That's great.
it was awesome for us, you know.
And we changed our Black History Spotlight moment for that. We usually highlight Black History past, and we pick someone who has fought the good fight. But when we heard about Pasadena Youth Christian Center and the impact that it had on my wife,
And that it closed, I almost shed a tear because it was so prominent, profound in the community. They had buses, they were nonprofit, they went out and picked us up. We didn't have to have anything.
Wow.
It was great.
and now to hear my wife here spearheading the call, she is the coordinator for the state of Alabama. A lot of people don't even realize how large the group she's a part of is. Mobs, Mothers of Black Sons, over 100,000 members deep across the United States.
Wow.
They started off as a Facebook group who were only posting things, but they wanted to be more active. They tried to organize the Million Women's March back in October to coincide with the anniversary of the Million Man's March.
We will have that.
When they didn't work last year on October, a branch of the group said, we're not going to separate, we're going to create a different branch. You have Mob for the people who just want to give emotional support, and they created a group called Mama, Mothers on a Mission, Moving in Activism. People who want to get on the ground and really affect the change. And that's what this radio show was birthed from, trying to connect the people in her group across the United States to give them one platform where everybody, everywhere, can hear the same thing at the same time.
We started with the police shootings, but then we realized it's way more than that. It's way deeper than that. We have to start in our community. We can't get mad and want to blame them when we're doing the same things.
Wow.
It has to start at home.
Because the more we attempted to bridge the gap with the police department across the United States, because the owner of this station, his sister's a police chief in Texas, in Dallas, Texas. You know, so we have people coming on from everywhere addressing these issues and what's going on there. The more we got out there, the more we realized we got to get the mote out of our own eye before we can attempt to get the mote out of our brother's eye. When we look at what's going on inside our own communities around the United States collectively, there was some deeper things that had to happen. Now, we researched it, we got to the root, we got to the base, we know how we got here.
Yes.
But what we're not trying to do is blame anybody. Right. What we're trying to do is come up with solutions to move forward. It's easy to blame and to point the finger and to stay stuck in the mud.
But let's move past that. We already know how we got here. Let's move past this.
And that's why we told you when we invited you on. We know the issues of the city. We know what's going on. We want to know what's the plan to affect the change. Correct. And even if your plan doesn't change the world, can you change one? And can that one change one? Each one teach one. Right. Christ says he rejoices over one. If we can each one get one. My wife looked up a stat back in January when we were talking about supporting black businesses. She said according to the unemployment rate of the black community, if each black business that's recorded in the books paying taxes, not the illegal, or not the people who ain't, just the ones who are recorded paying taxes, if each one of them hired one black person,
one unemployed black person,
it would eradicate unemployment in the black community.
And if you put on top of that the establishment of new minority and women-owned businesses hiring in these communities.
Yes.
Yeah, because in Birmingham right now, we have only, in a city that's between 70 and 74% African American. 74% African American. We only have less than 4% minority and women-owned businesses. So we have to also, along with those corporations and smaller businesses hiring to minimize or negate unemployment, you also have to look at new industry jobs and corporations along with minority and women-owned businesses hiring. Because if you look at Inslee, for example, that was a community that was so thriving back in the day that unless you just wanted to get out of Inslee to spend your money, you had that choice. But Inslee had everything, and it wasn't all African American owned. It was Italian and white and everything else. But that economic base was there. Those businesses were there hiring. My grandparents ran a cafe and store in Inslee on Inslee Avenue. And they employed not only the family, but other kids within the community. And so if you get back to that in conjunction with corporate partners hiring different, I have a program where I would like to take to the corporations that says, look, it's called Birmingham 99. We have 99 communities, corporations, whether it's Alabama Power, whether it's Allegasco, whether it's Regions Bank, Wells Fargo. Let's go back to each community and hire at least one person a year, to your point. That's called Birmingham 99.
But her thing wasn't even a major corporation. If we could just, each one of the black businesses, if each black-owned business hired one black person.
That's unemployed. I want to keep saying
instead of depending on
all not unemployed.
Because that's the big issue. I think that we are focused on someone else doing it.
Right.
When the solution lies within ourselves. He said, I have created you, God, to create, to rule, to have dominion over. But we shrink away from that responsibility and we look for someone to give us. Instead of, like you said, creating our own. And then once you create your own, hire someone of your own. And I love my boss. I work in real estate, I work in construction, I work in radio. If he had a nickel pitching contest, I could work over there. He gives me every opportunity to be the best that I can be and to reach back out in my community and find others like me to give them an opportunity. If we can just get back, each one reach one. Can everybody take one person? You don't have to say the community. And we can commit, like if each deacon has a family, if each member of the church had one person that they were just trying to reach. I don't want you to focus on everybody. Just get this one person over here and
Yeah, church would double itself every year.
Right. Right.
it'll scare you.
Yeah.
The numbers, the people, the contribute, and we're worried about people don't contribute, people don't this, because we're not teaching it the right way. We're not modeling it the right way. If you set the things up the way they should go and you groom these people in it, and you, like I'm getting ready to renew my vows. Everybody that's not a part of church leadership tripped out about the price that I agreed to pay. But because I'm a part of church leadership, I understand that the lights got to come on, and this got to come on, and the water, and this and that. I understand that there's a cost associated. So it don't bother me. If we talk and we were transparency.
Correct.
If we had transparency, real transparency, so people knew where things were going and what was going on, they wouldn't have a problem giving.
And again, that falls back to education.
Yes.
We are not teaching our kids what it means to be transparent. We're not teaching our kids to be accountable. We're not teaching our kids to be responsible. Birmingham again is 74% African American, but we don't have African American studies in the curriculum in Birmingham City schools. And research has shown that kids, in learning about themselves and their history and their heritage and their culture, improve in reading, math, and reading, math, and science, just because they're learning about themselves.
They feel better about themselves.
So how can we expect a kid or anyone that has been in the educational system that has been failing us for so long to understand what it takes to start a business, to write a business plan? Do they have business plan competitions at A.G. Gaston? No. Do they have business plan in Birmingham City Schools? No. Those are the things we have to re-implement so that we will know that that not only the kids but our citizens have the proper resources needed to start businesses that will hire citizens within Birmingham and make because the businesses that used to require you having police patrol throughout the ends of the community, the West End community, they're no longer there.
No, they're not.
So
Fairfield for one.
they left Fairfield. So you don't have that Walmart out there. So the policemen are they going to patrol that strip? No,
they
don't need
they
to.
Don't. They don't patrol anything.
So,
I don't even think they have police.
Right. So the same thing in the smaller community of West End or in Ensley or in Titusville. We have to make sure that we get back to making sure the proper education and resources go back to the community. The churches are in the community. So we need to put the business and better educated citizens in those communities owning businesses so that they can go to church, they run their businesses, they hire people within the communities, and now you got that economic cycle going. And the communities are improving, the streets are paved. I mean, my parents just had a new car, and they don't drive as much because it's too much technology, according to them. So I drive it. But driving throughout the city, I hate driving that car. I mean, my front end alarm is almost gone. And it's a new car. And so we have to make sure that the citizens are educated on how to demand accountability, how to demand transparency, how to demand new businesses in their communities, in which we're working hand in hand with the churches, hand in hand with City Hall, because we have a city focused on one dream, and that's getting Birmingham better.
Birmingham better. I like that. Are you going to do your, we run out of time.
I'll try to squeeze them in. I like my thoughts.
You can do it for 30 seconds, then we gotta go.
Okay. Our parting thoughts. Rhetorical question that we would like our listening audience to think about till we meet again next week. How did the church affect you during your childhood? Do you attend some form of faith-based service regularly? What are we teaching our children to believe? That last one, I have to read it again.
Yeah, please do.
What are we teaching our children to believe?
And that's a deep one. I want all the listeners to think about that. And we'll start off next week's show with that question. That's a good one. But once again, it's been a pleasure to have you guys on the panel. Reverend Miller, you know we love you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for the invite.
Yes,
He
sir.
really sacrificed, listen,
Yes.
I wrestled with him all
bet, I
night.
bet.
I got a limp right now.
And thank you, Mr. Hill, for coming in. We'd love to
It
have
was
you back
definitely my
on
pleasure.
when we have our
Definitely.
full panel, because we spoke about you coming and they all had some questions.
Okay.
But
And everybody today I've got 4 different texts. Because we got 2 mentoring groups that we partner with, a couple different organizations throughout the city.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. None of these people are looking to be Lone Stars. They're looking to.
they're already doing the groundwork.
Okay. Okay. I'm open. Open.
Okay. Thank you guys once again, DND Live. Appreciate you all listening. And as always, we are going to be live next Friday, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Central Standard Time.
That's right. We are out. God bless.
D&D Live.
The voice of the people.
We're not corporate radio, so you know we got all the new music.
All right. Thank you guys.
That was engaging. I
That
like
was
that.
awesome.
Yeah, well, now we got to get a picture before we go against the banner.
Okay.
It's my wife's weekly tradition.
Yes. So because we're gonna put the live feed on, so I'll tag you guys and you guys can listen in on it. The whole show.
And then you can share it if anybody ever. It's always good to have for your own reference. And things. I'm trying to shut this thing down, baby. Thing. Can you move that shit when you on still live? I can't stop the Migos. Yes, we streaming.
97 countries.
I lost
Yep,
it.
that's exactly.
Yeah, because I can control it from my phone.
Okay.
And as you guys are talking, I'm zooming in and moving everything around. I love it. It gives me something. We can do interviews and stuff, and the volume, like Sting, where do we get the owner? I asked him the host. Okay. But I looked him up, now. And it connects to Wi-Fi, and as long as your phone or your mobile device is on the same network there, it gives you kind of a limiting your distance and stuff. But even though I lost connection where I couldn't control it, it continues to stream because I had already connected up to Facebook page. Or your YouTube channel or whatever you're doing, it's going to stream. Okay. We're still streaming, yeah. Thing I need you to let me shut it down. Alright, hold the stream, baby.
I bet you shut it down.